In the previous episode, we looked at the economic reasons for colonization. Today, we'll be looking at the political reasons, specifically the desire for prestige. A common mistake students make is to simply write the British wanted to expand their empire. Unfortunately, this is vague and generic. It does not explain why the British wanted to colonize Malaya. We all know great powers wanted bigger empires, but what made Malaya as a colony important to the British? Another common mistake students make is to simply write the British were worried because the Dutch were colonizing Indonesia and the French were colonizing Vietnam. Unfortunately, this still doesn't explain why the British would want to colonize Malaya. It only describes what other European powers were doing in the other parts of Southeast Asia. A more precise answer would be that the British wanted to expand their empire in Malaya to strengthen their position in Southeast Asia against their European rivals. Strengthen their position suggests that they already had some sort of position in Southeast Asia. The British were already in control of the Strait settlements, which at that time consisted of Penang, Malacca, and Singapore. You will also notice that these territories were already trading ports. Let's now go back to our point. If you want to mention the Dutch in Indonesia and the French in Vietnam, you have to link it to Penang, Singapore, and Malacca. This shows that the British already had a strong presence in the region. Desire to maintain that prestige and compete with rival powers pushed the British to extend their control inland into Malaya. In short, the colonization of Malaya was about national pride and the prestige of being seen as the leading empire in Southeast Asia. We can see this same desire for prestige in another empire, the French. Once again, a common mistake students make would be to state that the French were concerned about the British in Burma and Malaya. Unfortunately, this really doesn't explain why the French would extend their control in Vietnam. We know the French extended their control to regain national pride and prove their strength. This was especially critical after earlier defeats in Europe. After losing the Franco-Prussian War in 1871, France's power and confidence took a major hit. Expanding their empire in Asia became a way to show the world that France was still strong. The Franco-Prussian War ended disastrously for France. This greatly affected their national pride and the prestige of France as a strong European power. A better response will be able to link France's humiliation during the Franco-Prussian War to their efforts to extend control in North Vietnam in the early 1870s. This became a way for France to redeem itself on the world stage. By showing they could assert power overseas, the French aimed to restore prestige and demonstrate that France was still a great power, even after defeat in Europe. That's all for this episode. Goodbye.